morning and thank you for joining us. Fighting in eastern Ukraine continues to intensify as Prime Minister Stephen Harper spent the day in Kiev meeting with the country's leaders. Harper pledged more financial aid for the nation in light of growing Russian aggression. As Katie Simpson reports, there's pressure on Canada to deliver even more.
At Kiev's Police Academy, Stephen Harper announced Canada's next pledge for Ukraine. $5 million over a year to help build a new police force that will be trained partly by Canadians. Ukraine's Prime Minister was thankful for the support, but made it no secret he wants more.
This is not just to be a position of Canada. We ask our Western partners to make a bold and strong decisions to support Ukraine with the defensive, and I want to underline once again, with the defensive weapons.
Harper has rejected calls so far to offer defensive weaponry. Canada has already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on support, promised 200 special operations soldiers to train Ukrainian troops, and is already supplying non-lethal military supplies like helmets and medical gear. But after a day of meetings with Ukrainian leaders,
the Prime Minister of Canada,
Harper said he wants to raise this issue at the G7.
In the case of defensive weaponry, in the case of weaponry generally, as you know, our position has been we're supplying a range of non-lethal military equipment. We would only go beyond that in concert with our allies.
Fighting in eastern Ukraine is getting worse, reaching a flashpoint on Thursday night with more than 500 explosions recorded over the span of an hour in one city alone. With pressure mounting, Canada's Ukrainian community wants to see this next step happen, and soon.
Until the world provides Ukraine the ability to defend itself, we're going to continue to see this conflict escalate.
Stephen Harper will focus on Ukraine's security and Russian aggression when he heads to the G7 summit later today, but expect other world leaders to want to spend much of their energy on climate change. Katie Simpson, CTV News, Kiev, Ukraine.
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue added 7 new firefighters to their ranks. A ceremony was held today to officially graduate the recruits. During the 20 weeks of intense training, these newly dubbed firefighters go through hypothetical and practical training. They participate in mock structural fires, motor vehicle collisions, water rescues, and emergency medical care, all to ensure that they're prepared for the everyday reality a firefighter experiences.
In the fire service, when we graduate a recruit class, it shows that we're recognizing the effort that they put in to get here. And some of them has been years of effort to get here. Not these things aren't measured in weeks. It's measured in years to get onto a firefighting job.
It feels very good. We feel very ready. Coming into training, some of us had some previous fire experience. Some of us did not. But when we're all graduating the program together, we're all on the same page.
The 7 new recruits bring the personal total back to a full complement of 213. NOMA President and Kenora Mayor Dave Canfield was in Ottawa on May 27th, promoting the environmental record of the Ontario forestry industry. But before he left, Canfield's resolution supporting the industry against environmentalists failed to pass at his own city council. John Thompson has more.
As NOMA's president, he's a champion of the forestry industry's environmental record. But Kenora Mayor Dave Canfield went against the grain of his city council when he tried to pass the same resolution that passed at NOMA. It pointed out environmental organizations by name and ordered that they cease and desist divestment campaigns that pressure paper suppliers to stop buying from forestry companies. It was wording far too strong to get the support of his council.
The cease and desist is rather ham-handed and a little overreaching. It's not up to us as city councillors to tell anyone to cease and desist their activities. I think the feeling amongst the bulk of the majority of the councillors was that that did impinge on personal liberties and freedom of speech.
This has nothing to do with stifling freedom of speech. What it has to do with is stifling abuse of freedom of speech, which has been going on for some time now. And when you fabricate stories and you make up your own ideology and basically things that hurt the companies, we have a problem with that.
Canfield accuses Greenpeace of asking their supporters to fabricate complaint stories about Resolute forest products in a forest ethics campaign that resulted in Resolute losing the business of 3M, the company known for making Post-it notes. Canfield says the industry's environmental sustainability is tied to Northwestern Ontario's economic sustainability.
A lot of these mills are gone. They're never going to start. We know that. But there is a great opportunity with dimensional lumber and value-added products and the restart of Kenora Forest products. We want to see that build. I mean, this is the only renewable building product in the world.
But Goss argues the communities need to look out for their own interests, and the forestry companies are among those who need to be held accountable.
There have been changes in the way that particularly Kenora Forest Products is attempting to go about it. It's a lot more sustainable. We have to work with First Nations on wood supply. We have to, there will be some activism involved there, and I think that the public input and public discourse is very important in that. But I think we should probably also be trying to hold the industry hold the feet of the industry to the fire of let's make this sustainable.
Resolute and Greenpeace couldn't be further apart. The company suing the environmental organization for defamation with accusations of forest destroyers on one hand and job destroyers on the other. Communities are finding themselves trapped in the middle, and in Kenora's case, divided. John Thompson, TBT News.
An ambitious canoe trip got underway in Thunder Bay this past week. Carrie Noland and her husband John are paddling all the way to Manitoba on behalf of the Path of the Paddle Association. The route is part of the Trans-Canada Trail. The couple hopes their epic journey will help others enjoy some amazing paddling trips in the region. Phil Darlington has that story.
1,100 kilometers broken up over 10 weeks will take Carrie and John Nolan from their launch point at Fort William Historical Park to Whiteshell Provincial Park in Manitoba. They're making the trip for Path of the Paddle.
And the Path of the Paddle is Northwestern Ontario's Trans-Canada Trail link. So it's our piece that connects to the 24,000 kilometers of trail that connect us sea to sea to sea.
There are several objectives of the trip. One is to maintain the trails, and more importantly, it is to research and document the route in its entirety. It's a sustainability project which is being helped through funding from the Ontario Trillium Foundation.
And so we're just grateful that they've given us the funds to make it happen. And part of our sustainability plan is the research that we're gathering, compiling a guidebook.
It's a lot to do with documenting areas that need work, small amounts of trail maintenance and clearing.
That maintenance will also be furthered once the reports come in from the Nolans. If need be, crews will go out with chainsaws and other tools and further the maintenance of the trails. Of course, all of that work will take up a huge amount of energy, something that has been looked after.
We will periodically supply them with food, and they have a website that you can follow on our website. They have a blog that's going to document what they do.
That blog will help connect other paddlers and the public to the project as it unfolds, and the Nolans are going to pop up along the way to connect with towns and travelers.
So we'll be down on the Gunflint Trail, and we're hoping to get to Atikokan by July 1st for those festivities, into Dryden, into Kenora, and all the little communities in between.
Phil Darlington, TBT News.
A new reporter has been breaking stories aimed at kids around Thunder Bay. 9-year-old Taylor Gorey began her own news agency known as Taylorpedia, and it's quickly gaining traction. Taylor, managed by her mother, Meg, reports on anything she thinks families in Thunder Bay should know more about, such as the George Jeffrey Children's Center and the local food truck phenomenon. She's already gained a following on Facebook of around 400 people and has also been interviewed live on 91.5 CKPR.
I want to show people different things about Thunder Bay that are really cool. So for families, it's good for them to show that good places for kids.
To show her that she does matter and that she doesn't have to double guess herself. And I kind of want all kids to feel that empowerment, that they can go out there and do something wonderful, and that family's always going to be there to support them.
You can find more about Taylorpedia by visiting her Facebook page. Kids and adults strapped on their helmets and flew down the hill on Waverly Street today as the 12th annual Soapbox Races got underway. This event was in support of the George Jeffrey Children's Center with a goal to raise funds to assist the foundation in bettering the lives of children and families who use their programs and services. The 12th annual event has grown again this year, bringing in around 35 racers, all competing for a new bike or tickets for a free WestJet flight.
You'd be surprised. Some of them that were really apprehensive, they're in there and they are squealing and having a lot of fun, and they don't want to miss a race.
I love going down the hill, but also I feel awesome being able to help out George Jeffreys because it's a great organization.
Last year, this event raised around $36,000, and it's expected to raise somewhere around that total again. Residents who were driving through the Thunder Center parking lot today might have been thrown off by what was going on in the Home Depot parking lot. The classic bar game Foosball was being played, but on a much larger scale with people instead of figurines. 6 teams signed up to play Habitat for Humanity's first annual human foosball game. The rules were virtually the same with some obvious variations. Both hands had to stay attached to the poles at all times. Teams were forced to face the opponent's goal, much like the immovable figurines in the real game, and the plastic casing on the poles forced everyone to move in tandem. The Thunder Bay Chill showed up to play the first game, and after that, everyone joined in to play what they said was a better version of the tabletop game.
And they're playing and moving exactly like a foosball game would be played.
This is way better. This is way better than a table. It's live. Or like moving our feet at least. Get together with friends and meet new people and support a good cause.
Habitat for Humanity expects to raise around $2,000 at the event. They plan to host this event again next year, but add even more pitches to expand their new event. Now, Ryan, that looks